Hi, this is Carl Dobrowolski of Missions Together. I'm here with Pete Coco of Permission, and we've got something wonderful that you will want to hear about and to learn more. But most of all, this is going to empower you on your way to mission. Pete, welcome.
So glad to have you, or so glad to be here, actually. Thanks, Carl, for having me.
Thank you, Pete. So, here's what we're going to talk about. Three essentials to bring heaven to your street. Three essentials to bring heaven to your street. That's loaded, Pete. Help unpack this and so that we can empower the person listening to you right now.
Yeah, I think all of us have seen what Jesus called as the kingdom of heaven. And most of us have seen something like that. And when we see it, we can recognize it, but it's kind of hard and difficult to explain it. Um, Usually something powerful happens and it evokes tears, and we're like, I wish I could capture that in a bottle, and I would like to multiply that. I'd like to see that happen again. And what we've noticed is that really, if you really boil all of the essential, all of the things that are going on in any situation where we see the kingdom of heaven present, or maybe what we'd call the local church, Christian church present, it really is three things. It's a combination or an overlap of worship, community, and mission. And I'll break that down real quick for you. That worship, it's not just singing songs. It's really a recognition that God is big and we are not. If we're in an environment where we recognize the lordship of Jesus, that is worship.
Mhm.
Community is just like it sounds. That's not something that's hard to understand, but we're with other people that recognize that truth as well. And mission is simply understanding that there is something that needs to happen that currently isn't happening. Mission
Mm.
is what should and could be, but is not. And if you
Mhm.
can get a mission combined with community, combined, sprinkled in with a little bit of God, it just ends up creating what we think is that powerful combination that's the kingdom of heaven. And it brings heaven anywhere we are, even your street.
And this is what we hunger for. At least this is what we should be hungering for. And in your experience, this is what most of the church really wants, and you help empower that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is two enough? If I just went with worship and community, is that enough?
Well,
Or
I think
community
I
and
think a lot of
mission?
times I think a lot of times we settle for two, and I'll say this: it's good, but is it great? And is it the kingdom of heaven? That's the real question. And so let me break a few examples for you down. Like if we had worship and community, but no mission, then it would be honestly what a lot of our small groups look like in America. We're together and we got worship, but we really don't have a mission. It's good, it's nice, but is it really the best? Probably not. What if we have mission and we have community? That's probably a social justice trip because there's no God involved. Uh,
Hmm.
is that good? Sure, it's got some good elements to it. Is it the kingdom of heaven? No. And then thirdly, what if we had worship and we had a mission, but we had no community? We're not doing it in the
Hmm.
context of community.
Hmm.
That's like the bullhorn guy by himself out passing out tracts and maybe being a
Hmm.
little offensive. That's not exactly what we're talking about either. So it just seems like when you have all three together, it ends up having this powerful impact. And to be really honest with you, I think sometimes we have separated these out, even in our church context, because I think the church understands this concept pretty well, but we have a way of not overlapping it. But Sunday mornings are worship time, Wednesday night is our community time, and if you want to do missions, it's next July. And what if we put those all together a little more intentionally? I think we'd see heaven everywhere.
Yeah, I love the way you articulated. Yes, let's bring heaven to our street, to our neighborhood. Let's bring heaven everywhere we go. I like the way you separated that. It's not the mission is something we do in July because we go on a short-term mission trip, right?
Right.
Working all of this together, overlapping. In your experience, what do you think is most challenging of the three?
Oh, there's no doubt that I think the most challenging component is mission. And I believe that that's true because when we're in a church context, there is we all know it. There's a culture there. There's an environment there, and we're very comfortable with the worship environment. We all kind of speak the same language, and community is around that. But it's very difficult to bring that sort of an environment and that sort of culture into my workplace. And so, how do we bring this church thing I just experienced on Sunday into my work environment on Monday? That's a very, very hard thing for most people. And I think what we have to do is probably have to separate, take a step back and say, maybe we shouldn't lead with an idea of worship and community coming to church, but maybe we should start with what is the problem that they're experiencing there? What should and could be there? Let's find a community around that. And now what we've started with is mission and community.
Mhm.
And now we sprinkle some God into that, and boom, like God really actually provides the greatest answer for those problems. But instead of bringing the whole culture with us, which is near impossible, but a lot of times is the pressure we feel, why don't we start with the mission? And so that, I think, is probably the number one problem most of us face, is that, hey, take the pressure off. You don't have to bring you don't have to memorize everything your minister said on Sunday. You just have to understand what are the issues going on within the context that you work, live, and play, and let's find some practical ways to meet those needs.
And Pete, is that part of what you do to help the person? Is that the problem that you solve?
That is our passion. Is we have just seen for years that there's a lot of really good church people that are kind of stuck in that culture, and they almost feel like they're living two lives. Like they want to bring Jesus to the place they live, work, and play, but it almost feels like such a big hurdle to jump into that evangelistic conversation. I think personally, we should always be ready to give an answer
Yeah.
for the hope that we have. I mean, I think
Right.
that's biblical. I think that's evangelism 101. But I also think that that comes most naturally when we know of a particular need that the people outside of Jesus care about as well. And if we can
Mm.
start meeting those needs, evangelism is just a lot easier to accomplish. So, yeah, so that's what we do. We provide something called the permission pathway, which is it's simply a 7-week experience to help you figure out what is the mission God's called you to. And so we take a number of experiences, put them all together, and we end up saying, okay, now write a simple mission statement of what is God telling you to do based on what God has been leading you through with the pathway. And so people come out of it with a clear mission statement and taking some practical steps, and God seems to take it from there.
So speak to the pastor right now. He wants to take the next step. What do you want to tell him, and how can they connect with you, Pete?
Yes. The local pastors who we're really targeting here, because I actually was a campus minister for 22 years. And all of the people that came to Jesus in my campus ministry had a mission. And it just seemed like faith and mission were connected at the hip for them very naturally. And then I was an interim minister for a church, and it just didn't seem like that was still the case. People became consumers quite quickly when they were in the local church. And so this really birthed out of my desire to help activate the normal, ordinary person to be awakened to their own extraordinary mission. And the way that that happens, I think, best is that we need to be strategic like Jesus was, and we need to handpick people in waves, small to big, and we implement this slowly and in a kind of throughout waves. Maybe you start with 9 to 12 people, it expands to 25 to 30 people, and then your whole church can experience the whole thing too. But man, I just would love to talk to you about it. A lot of that's laid out for the minister on our website, which is wehavepermission.com, and you can contact me there. There's a contact page, and let's set up a meeting. Let's just chat. I'd just like to hear your story, how we can help you. My my position in life right now is pretty awesome that I just get to help people. And so if
Mm.
you want me to help you, I want to help you in any way I can. And that's just the posture I want to take. So let's talk.
Yeah, let's talk and let's bring heaven to our street, to our home, to our church, everywhere we go. Permission, Pete Coco, thank you so much. And we invite you to connect with Pete today. And your ministry will never be the same. Thank you again, Pete.
Thanks, Carl. Appreciate it.